Okay, we're back.
Yeah, so we're talking about having more time to...
Yeah, having a lot more time, I think, and seeing less. So even things like going to, we went to the Malacca Islamic Museum.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that was really, I mean, it was wonderful, but that was so rushed. There was no time. It was kind of running through, taking photos so that you could look back and read stuff. But I don't think I even got to look at anything because I think we only had tiniest amount of time.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably a little bit pointless, really. We would have been better off because we were going to the Islamic Arts Museum the following day. It probably would have been better off using that time for something else. And it would have been nice to have gone to the Christ Church there, which was in the nice big open square at the end. We didn't get to go in there, and I think that would have been nice to have seen, because as yet we haven't looked. We've looked at a Chinese temple and we've looked at an Islamic temple. We haven't been to any Hindu temples.
We were going to go to a Hindu temple, but it was closed, so we didn't get to experience
that's right.
that.
They were shut because they weren't having prayer. But we haven't been to any of the Christian churches, and I think that would be really interesting
just to
see what they're like as well, and to see maybe what kind of Malay influence is in those churches. So
when we went to the mosque, we had to be dressed. They gave us robes to put on, and had to wear headscarves.
Wear robes, yes.
But we were only able to enter halfway into the room, so it was just good to see what was inside. Yeah,
and it was really nice because U3 was preparing for prayer whilst we were there, so they had that beautiful big, looked like a swimming pool, like a fountain, where he went to wash, and he washed his feet and his hands and his arms and his face and his ears, and then he went inside to pray. And I've never actually seen anybody prepared for prayer before, so that was really lovely. And I didn't get a chance, unfortunately, afterwards to talk to him about it, and I think that's kind of was just part of the day, that it was really difficult trying to get time to have really in-depth conversations about things. So and I think too, with Naomi being sick, I spent a lot of time making sure she was okay. And
it was a big day.
It was a huge day. So there's a question here about considering taking future students on a study tour in an Asian country. Well, I don't think that kind of applies too much to us in early childhood, because probably not too many parents who would let you take their grade 2s on a overseas trip, unfortunately.
Or a secondary school, if they were learning about Asian cultures and British colonisation, it would be a good place to go.
And I think too, like, you could do an incursion in that, using all the photographs and things, and if you had more time to collect, or if you were going back there and collecting a lot more information, you certainly could set up something that you could show children all those different cultures. And there's huge similarities, I guess, with Australia, again, with Portuguese and Dutch, which are both said to have visited Australia well before the British. So it's I guess that's kind of interesting. And the little traditional house that we saw, that was really amazing too, which there's not many of those left.
No. And there was a woman that lived there that she opened it up for people to come. Yeah,
which is just amazing to think that people can walk through someone's house that they live in.
It's a very small house.
Very tiny house, raised off the ground for the warding off of tigers and all different sorts of things, I was told. So, but even I took a photo, there was a china cabinet inside full of sort of, I guess, their collection of valuables. And it was kind of really much the same as what's in my mum and dad's china cabinet. So that was really interesting as well.
Yeah.
So I guess we better move on so on Sunday. So Saturday we went to Malacca. We didn't get home till, I think, midnight.
Not midnight it was.
So we were all pretty white. Then Sunday, we had another big day. And we went to the Islamic Arts Museum. And that is just, a very, very impressive place. So, I don't know, where do you think you spent the most time in looking?
I think it was level 2 with I forget what it was called.
Of the models of all the mosques?
Yeah, we had the models of all the mosques and all the different Qurans from
Okay.
all around the world. And,
Yeah.
so I think that was the most interesting level, just to see the mosques from around the world. So they had miniature constructions of the mosques in each country.
Mm.
So I think that was really good to see.
Yeah, some of
The
them
size,
were so
massive. The ones in Saudi Arabia were huge.
Really huge, yes. And I thought it was really interesting because they had a little bit of history about them. And they were talking about how the whoever was in charge, the Sultan or whoever, as a new Sultan came into power, they would add to the mosques. And that was very similar to when I was in Italy with Christian churches. Whenever there was a new bishop or a new pope, they would add something on, which was a way of showing pretty much, how good and great they were. So there's, again, those similarities between Islam and Christianity that seem to keep popping up time and time again. As much as people think we're very different, we seem to be quite similar in a lot of ways, I think. Yeah, I think I spent the most time in the gallery that showed the different ways Islam came into different countries. So how Islam came into China and then India, and that was really interesting. But again, we didn't have nearly enough time there. Just you could spend hours and hours in there, and the workmanship of things in there.
All handmade.
Yeah, the carved metal work and the clothing.
Yeah. And the books.
Yeah, it's just
the detail.
Yes, really beautiful.
Yeah.
I took a photo of, there was a great big Indonesian carved big door frame.
Oh yeah.
Remember that as we walked into that exhibit? And I thought was really interesting because they said when that was done, and I should have looked up my photo of exactly who it was for, but there was all of these influences of British and Dutch and all these different cultures all represented because they had different craftsmen working on that, and so all the imagery in it. And I want to go home and have a bit more look through my art books at home because there was different flowers and then different, I don't know, they were like a seed pod or a pine cone type thing, and I wonder whether all those things are representative of various cultures from around the world, which I thought was really interesting. It was very, very beautiful.
Yeah, even with that artwork, when we walked in and it had the Arabic writing, but it was done in Chinese calligraphy.
Yeah,
that was the most outstanding thing.
That
just to see the two mixing together.
That great big scroll.
The scroll,
which you would normally expect to see
in
Chinese calligraphy, and it was still calligraphy.
Yeah, it was written Arabic. So
that was. Everybody was kind of, hey, hang on, that's
So to see a mix of both those cultures back then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. That was really, really.
So I think that's what stood out the most for me. And then the miniature mosques.
Yeah. It was an interesting thing. I was walking through the Indian section of the gallery with Rekha, who is one of our Indian buddies.
Yeah.
And I said to her, this must be quite exciting for you to walk through here, because this is part of your culture. And she said, yes, the thing that stood out to her was, I think, the craftsmanship and how beautifully made everything was. And I sort of think that it's a shame that a lot of those crafts or trades have probably gone by the wayside.
Yeah,
it happens in every culture. And whether you saw there was like a jade, it looked like something we'd use for chips and dip. That's the only way I can explain it. But it was made out of jade.
Okay, wow.
And it was so fine, you could see almost see through it. It was transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just incredible. It was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, and I just thought, how on earth could you have made something like this in the 17th century? So, and they did it by an abrasive method, so they must have just, basically sanded it and sanded it and sanded it and made this beautiful fluted bowl with the little thing in the middle. And I was just like, that's just amazing. So I think there were so many incredible things in there, and there was lots of really lovely quotes.
Yeah.
On the walls.
I think it was just good to see that aspect of the Islamic culture.
Yeah. Yes.
Because obviously what we hear in the media is very different.
To what you see
just
there.
to see their history and where they come from.
Yeah. And to see how it's being created in other cultures and I guess it's not something that makes you realise it's not something to be feared.
No.
Because it is the largest growing religion, I think, on the planet. And in Australia we all seem to be like, which I think is really sad, and maybe we need an Islamic arts museum in Australia.
We do, and they might go exploring.
They might learn a little bit
I think
more.
it's something that I also associated with the Middle Eastern countries,
Yeah.
So I think that was good to see,
That's actually a really good point, because I had never ever before we started on this sort of thought of Malaysia as an Islamic country, because you kind of tend to associate it.
Yeah.
And again, that might be like those things that, what was mentioned at the consulate the other day about how our relationships with Malaysia is so strong that we don't see Malaysia, in our media in any negative sort of light. But it's interesting that we see a lot of negative media towards Islamic people, but it's always in the Middle East.
Yeah, it is.
So that's kind of...
And I think that's maybe because here they have the Chinese culture and the Indian culture as well.
Yeah.
It's that working together with, Middle East, Iraq, or Iran. It's just Islam.
Islam, and that's it.
And so they're fighting against each other in a way. But so I think that was good to see the Chinese, how Islam in China and the other countries.
But they've all still kept their cultures. It's not like their religion has overtaken the basis of their culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really important thing to sort of look at, is that it's not like they still, like all of the buddies still know so much about their own cultural heritage and where they've come from and where their families have come from. And I think we tend to think of, Islam or Islamic as being this over, it goes above everything else.
Yeah.
And we forget about the other cultures that are there. And I think that's the beauty probably of somewhere like Malaysia, now that we've been here, is that you can meet a person who's Chinese and Islamic, but they still have all of their Chinese traditions as well underlying or there. So that's something really important for us to realise, is that, it's... Islamic faith is not the covering and the thing that we should, put them in that box of, I guess we need to see it from a broader perspective, and I guess that's something that I've been able to see since I've been here, and will definitely take away and give you much more broader and more realistic, obviously, non-media influenced view. So, I'm not sure if there's anything else to discuss there. I think we've talked about how it will further prompt us to look at things, and I think it will makes you sort of want to look into that history more. And again, that would be another place I would love to go back to when I come back to Malaysia. So, I don't know whether we want to have a little chat about our party. We had a party in our room last night.
We did.
So we've been we spent the afternoon cleaning up, spent the morning cleaning up.
Yeah.
So we had our buddies come, and George brought his 2 flatmates, so they were introduced to Australian culture in a rather dramatic way. They handled it very well.
We did.
But it was really a great night. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, just introducing him to how we party in a way.
Yeah.
So we had some food and had ordered pizza in,
We had snacks
and soft drinks, and played some games.
Yeah,
Played Heads Up.
that was hilariously funny. Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah.
And everyone was involved, and
no one had a chance of escaping.
No.
It was chanted. So no one was left untouched. But
it was a great night of just laughing and just enjoying each other's company.
Yeah, and I think the thing was that everybody kind of felt comfortable to get up. So with Heads Up, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of all different categories, and you have to
like charades.
Yeah, it's kind of like charades on an iPad.
Yeah.
So you can choose different categories, so whether it be singing or acting things out and stuff. And I don't know, it was just a really comfortable environment.
Relaxed.
I think sometimes when you have something like that and you aren't sure how everybody's going to be because it's a different environment than what we've been in with the buddies before.
Yeah, I think we did it at a good time as well, doing it at the start of the second week.
Yeah.
So, we all bonded in the first week, so it was good for them. So,
it was good fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
And we got to see the girls' which was very exciting.
So once the boys went out of the room,
to take the boys up onto the pool deck, and I wasn't sure why I was taking them to the pool deck, but I took them up to see the sights from the pool, and then Zali and
the other girl,
Carly, come up to get me
Yeah.
and send me back down so I could see all their beautiful hair.
Yeah, when they took off their hijab. So that was a special moment for all of us.
Because it's not something they would normally do with just anybody. So that kind of, I guess, showed how comfortable they've become with us, which I think is really...
that's something we'll remember.
Yeah,
a long time, I think.
Yeah.
Very special.
And it was funny because I sort of explained to them how difficult it is to recognise them, because when we tend to describe someone in Australia, we sort of go, they've got sort of brownish hair and it's kind of this long and, you know, that girl. And, it's difficult, I've found, to remember and associate names with them. Yeah. Because, I don't know why, we look at hair, but hair
seems to be an important thing for us in a way to describe people. But
whereas they obviously pay a lot more attention to facial features. It was really good. We had a great night. And
they had a great night.
I think they seemed to have a really good time. Yeah, that was a really nice thing to do. So, it was good. And I think that's about it until
the next one.
The next reflection. Okay. Breakfast time.
Breakfast time. Thank you.
Bye.